We're shooting on location again. I'm in far north Queensland, back in my old hometown, to bring you another 80s song of the day. And this time it's one that I have a personal connection to. We're looking at Jimmy Barnes and probably his best known song, that anthem to the Aussie battler, Working Class Man. So if you've got blue denim in your veins, I invite you to join me as we look at this week's 80s Song of the Day. Jimmy Barnes was born James Dixon Swan on April 28, 1956 in Glasgow, Scotland. His parents, Jim and Dorothy Swan, and their children, John, Jimmy, Dorothy, Linda, Lisa, and Alan, moved to Australia, settling just outside Adelaide when Jimmy was 5. When his parents divorced, Dorothy married Reg Barnes, who became a second father to Jimmy and his siblings, and whose name he took as his own. Jimmy is also the brother of John Swan, who had a hit record or two as Swanee in the 80s as well.
I'm gonna have to ask you, lady, what's your name? Can I walk beside you in the rain?
His brother John was for a while a member of prog rock band Fraternity, where a young Bon Scott also began to make his mark. Jimmy sang in Fraternity briefly in 1973, but bigger things awaited, as Barnes joined a local band called Orange, who eventually became Cold Chisel, and an iconic career in music was born. The Chisel years set the standard for Australian pub rock. Their 1978 debut single Khe-Sanh is an enduring classic, telling the story of a Vietnam War veteran. And Cold Chisel went on to have a number of hits through the 70s and the 80s. After Chisel decided to down tools in 1983, Barnes turned to a solo career. He's notched up 19 #1 albums in Australia, that's surpassing even the Beatles, and he's sold more records in Australia than any other local artist. Working Class Man was the anthem of 1980s Australia and a career-defining moment for Barnes. Released in November of 1985, it was the second single from Barnes' debut album For the Working Class Man. It charted for 14 weeks in Australia, entering at number 21 and peaking at number 5. In 2018, radio station Triple M created an Aussist 100 listing, which put together the 100 most Aussie songs. Working Class Man took the number 3 spot just behind Men at Work's Down Under at number 2, and Jimmy Barnes again, but as part of Cold Chisel, singing Khe-Sanh at number 1. Despite this fact, Working Class Man is not an original Jimmy Barnes composition. It was written for Barnes, but the writer isn't even an Aussie. Working Class Man was penned by Jonathan Cain, the keyboardist for American outfit Journey. Working Class Man was a song dedicated to Barnes' fans, and his iconic film clip, filmed among the steelworks at Port Kembla in New South Wales and the burning cane fields of far north Queensland, remains an enduring symbol of the era. And that's why I'm here today. I'm in a little town called Aloomba, a short distance south of Cairns in far north Queensland. I'm just across the road from the house my grandmother owned when she was still with us. And it was a tradition in our family to come out and visit her and her husband every second weekend or so. We'd visit for the afternoon and stay for dinner and then head back home in the early evening. One evening we piled into the family car and were headed up this road that would take us out to the Bruce Highway, back to Cairns, when we slowed down to watch an unusual sight taking place. The cane farm just down the road was burning the cane, a common practice at the time as part of preparation for harvesting. But oddly, there was a film crew set up on the side of the road. They had lights, cameras, and they were filming something standing in front of the roaring blaze. It wasn't until months later that I caught the clip for Working Class Man, probably on Countdown, and realised exactly what I had witnessed that night heading home. Interestingly, it's come to light that the cane farmers whose field the latter half of the video was filmed in didn't even know who Jimmy was or that they were making a music video. They actually believed instead it might be an ad for the new tractors that they were using. John Jashar, who appears in the video, said, "I actually had one of his tapes, a cold chisel tape. But in those days, I just knew the songs. I didn't know that that was him." Jimmy Barnes performed Working Class Man as part of the closing ceremony for the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And as the ultimate sign of establishment recognition, in 2017, Barnes was given an AO, that's Officer of the Order of Australia. So there you have it, Working Class Man by Jimmy Barnes. That's your 80s song of the day. I hope you enjoy it, and you know I'll be working hard for you to bring you another classic 80s song of the day.